From Recorded Future News and PRX, this is Click Here. What's the first thing you ever hacked?
My uncle's dial-up computer connection. Then he started noticing the internet bill increase greatly because I was downloading MP3s.
This is Jamie O'Reilly, a cybersecurity expert based in Australia.
One piece of advice that he gave me when he first introduced me to the internet actually came back to haunt him, which was that I could ask the internet for any possible question and get any answer that I wanted. And I went to Google and asked, how do I get my computer's dial-up password?
His uncle had put a password on the computer to try to stop Jamie from using it so much.
The internet responded with a piece of software that was specialized to extract dial-up passwords from Windows computers.
So you thought to yourself, this is magic.
Exactly.
From Recorded Future News, this is Click Here's Mic Drop, a longer listen to one of our favorite interviews of the week. I'm Dina Temple-Rust. Earlier this month, we told you about an Australian law that now compels technology companies to help law enforcement by creating backdoors into their products. Privacy advocates there were crying foul. But police say that things like encrypted apps allow criminals to commit all kinds of crimes. And in fact, the bad guys were using the same encrypted apps the rest of us were, things like Signal or Telegram. But Jamie says one bad guy decided to get a little entrepreneurial and started his own app until police shut it down. We'll explain. Stay with us. Support for Click Here comes from Curiosity Weekly, a podcast from Discovery. Each episode unpacks breaking science and tech news with experts who can make sense of it all. Recent episodes have covered what neuroscientists have learned from TikTok, how AI manages to read hieroglyphics, and whether today's robots can actually feel pain. All things I've wondered about. On Curiosity Weekly from Discovery, make sense of some of the biggest questions and ideas shaping our world. You can listen wherever you get your podcasts.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Make another smart choice with Auto Quote Explorer to compare rates from multiple car insurance companies all at once. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
I'm Dina Temple-Rust, and this is Click Here's Mic Drop. When I got Jamie Riley on the phone, he had to step away for a second.
Sorry, just give me 1 second. It's a funny story what I'm currently doing right now. So we're hacking one of the world's largest law firms legally. And I've just got a message from someone who is a very high executive in the company. And he thinks for the last 3 days that I am a support engineer in their business. So I've just had to quickly reply to him because I'm getting access to his device as we speak.
Jamie is a white hat hacker and founder of an Australian cybersecurity company called Dvuln. And how do I explain what Dvuln is?
Sure. So we are the closest thing to a cyber criminal group or a nation state bad actor that you will find. And we work with banks and governments and enterprise around the world to try and hack them before the bad guys do.
Got it. So you're like a red team?
Yes. I've spent my life hacking like banks and casinos and some of these like the world's hardest targets.
Because of his day job, Jamie needs to keep a close eye on the cyber underworld to keep tabs on the adversaries. And about a year ago, he stumbled on a website called encrypted, which essentially was like an app store for bad guys. And as he scrolled its offerings, he saw a bunch of encrypted messaging apps he'd never seen before.
This is where I first became aware of Ghost.
Ghost, an app that claimed to be the secure encrypted communication service of the future. It had been around almost a decade and promised, among other things, complete anonymity. Its subscribers didn't have to provide any personal information, like a phone number, as they would with Signal. Its users were encouraged to pay in cryptocurrency, and in return, Ghost would provide them with 3 layers of encryption. In fact, the app featured a self-destruct system that could delete messages both for the sender and the recipient.
This message will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
In other words, Ghost was made for criminals, allowing them to potentially commit a crime and actually get away with it.
All they're doing is they're providing a service that gives criminals a working phone with a working SIM card, and that's it. It's got all the encryption apps that needs to be on the app, and there's no type of back-end connection to the phone or remote management.
Those kinds of back-end connections are what law enforcement uses in their investigations.
So that kind of removes that opportunity for law enforcement to attack. And that's quite concerning for the government and law enforcement, because when they don't have that central server to exploit, it becomes really difficult to mass collect information on the users.
All this doesn't come cheap. A 6-month subscription to the full Ghost service typically ran about $1,500. The price included a modified smartphone and access to a tech support team. There was even a telegram number to call for more information. So, in December 2023, Jamie sent a message asking Ghost about a subscription.
So I said, are you a reseller or are you a main provider? And they're like, we are Ghost. And I'm like, okay. I said to them, how many people are using the app? And then they said, this is undisclosed. And then
the person on the other end wasn't very chatty. And eventually, Jamie just gave up. What he didn't know was around the same time, intelligence agencies in 6 countries around the world were interested in Ghost too. They'd found that the app's servers were sitting in France and Iceland, and the app's administrator was based in Jamie's backyard in Australia. And the Aussie federal police were already cooking up a scheme not just to take the app down, but to infiltrate it and find out who was using it.
It's 3 a.m. and AFP officers are leaving the headquarters in Sydney for a series of pre-dawn raids as part of Operation Kraken.
That story when we come back.
This is a message from sponsor Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was waiting to get your money back, which turned into worrying about getting your money back. Now, Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes today and help you get up to a $4,000 refund advance loan fast. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live full service. Refund has $0 loan fees and 0% APR. Refund advance loans may be issued by First Century Bank N.A. or WebBank. Terms apply, subject to credit approval.
When was the last time you said, I never thought about it that way? The Current aims to give you that moment every single day. Hello, I'm Matt Galloway, and our award-winning team brings you stories and conversations to expand your worldview. Sometimes they connect to the news of the day, sometimes to the issues of our time. And you'll hear all kinds of people on The Current, from best-selling authors to maybe your neighbor. Find us wherever you get your podcasts, now including YouTube. I'll talk to you soon.
Operation Kraken began with a hack. Some 700 members of the Australian Federal Police were on the hunt for whoever it was who was running Ghost. And according to Jamie O'Reilly, breaking into the Ghost admin's phone was easier than anyone had expected. It was running on an old BlackBerry Enterprise server. BlackBerry, remember those old cell phones?
And it's kind of the worst type of software criminals could use as well, because it gives direct access to all of their devices through one entry point.
Direct access to everything through one entry point. So police had a toehold, but they wanted more than that. They wanted to crack into the phones of Ghost users. And to do that, detectives used an oldie but a goodie. They piggybacked on an update. Like any self-respecting app, Ghost needed to send out periodic software updates. And police created a virus of sorts that would just hitch a ride with the next update that the admin sent out.
And then from there, literally all they would need to do is, upload their own backdoor application to all the phones.
And just like that, Aussie detectives had access to 376 different phones that the criminals were using. And the bad guys had no idea. What the officials found on those phones was evidence. Photos of illegal weapons in one, a snapshot of piles of meth in another. There were messages about drug deals and proof of life photographs of hostage victims with the muzzle of a gun pressed to their heads. Operation Kraken also found out who was behind all of this.
The major operation into a secret encrypted app called Ghost resulted in the arrest of JJ Yunjong at his family's home.
Police raided the home of JJ Yunjong, where he lives with his parents in the suburb of Narwee in southwest Sydney.
They found him with more than $9 million in cryptocurrency, and as the operation continued, police made more than 30 arrests and seized some 200 kilos of illegal drugs and reportedly prevented more than 50 threats to human life. And it wasn't just Australia either. The arrests were coordinated with stings in other parts of the world too. This is AFP's Deputy Commissioner Ian McCartney.
We allege hundreds of criminals, including Italian organised crime, motorcycle gang members, Middle Eastern organised crime and Korean organised crime, have used Ghost in Australia and overseas to import illicit drugs and other killings.
The spectre of Ghost loomed especially large in Ireland, where the Garda would seize 15 million euros worth of cocaine. And Jamie was watching all of this wondering how Ghost was able to be such a, ghost for so long.
I started to take a look at under the hood and look at the infrastructure publicly. I realized, okay, this is really just a matter of inexperienced group of people who have just gotten lucky for this long.
The app, it turns out, was riddled with vulnerabilities, not just relying on an old BlackBerry server, but software that was easily hackable. It turns out what protected Ghost in the end wasn't some brilliant developer, but instead the fact that it was so closely held. People learned about it through word of mouth.
We've seen a clear shift of criminal groups move away from these centralized encrypted messaging services to these more fragmented, where people are literally just spinning up a business, which doesn't actually exist. It's just a group of people.
So that leaves law enforcement always on the hunt for what new app criminals are using. Though Jamie says that because these kinds of messaging services are put together with the digital equivalent of duct tape and baling wire, they are intrinsically flawed, which means all ghosts eventually get busted.
I know hand on heart that there is a I call a death clock that starts as soon as they launch, and really it's about how long can they last before they get shut down.
This is Click Here's Mic Drop.
Today's episode was produced by Zach Hirsch, Megan Dietrich, Erica Gaida, Sean Powers, and Dina Temple-Raston. It was edited by Karen Duffin, fact-checked by Darren Ankrum, and contains original music by Ben Livingston with some other music from Blue Dot Sessions. Our staff writer is Lucas Riley, and our illustrator is Megan Goff. Martin Peralta is our sound designer and engineer. Click Here is a production of Recorded Future News and PRX. Tune in on Friday for Mic Drop, which features our favorite interview of the week. We'll have a new episode of Click Here on Tuesday. We'll see you then.
Looking for more of the cybersecurity and intelligence coverage you get on Click Here? Then check out our sister publication, The Record, from Recorded Future News. You'll get breaking cyber news from reporters in New York, Washington, London, and Kyiv, among others. And you'll see for yourself why it attracts hundreds of thousands of page views every month. Just go to therecord.media.